All right, good afternoon. Ms. Bridgewater, when's the reset date for these cases?
Yes, Your Honor, it's going to be November the 19th.
Okay, thank you. All right, courtroom 2 is there. Are we waiting on any other courtroom? Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we're going to begin with our expedited accusation calendar. This is with the Fulton County Court. These are misdemeanor cases in which defendants were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Soon after being booked in, their cases have been formally accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General of Fulton County. Therefore, this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. At this time, when I call your name, I will let you know what is your new case number, what are the charges brought against you, to appoint counsel for you where necessary, and to set a bond. For those of you who've been charged with these misdemeanor offenses, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Courtroom 2, who should we begin with?
Position number 12, Ms. Murphy.
And who do we have in the courtroom? Is that Mr. McLean? Okay, good afternoon, Mr. McLean. All right. Position number
12.
12, okay.
12.
Got it. This is State versus Jada LaDeja Murphy, accused of battery and one additional count of simple battery from November 5th, 2024. Ms. Murphy, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Any priors?
No.
First arrest. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred yesterday at about 8 p.m. at 112 Cortlandt Street Northeast. The victim is Nakira, N-Y-K-I-R-A Williams. She and the defendant know each other. They live in the same apartment building, and Mrs. Williams has allowed or had allowed the defendant to stay with her for a period of time until they had a disagreement. Mrs. Williams received a threatening text message on October the 18th from the defendant telling her she was going to beat her up the next time she saw her. Yesterday, Mrs. Williams was in the lobby of the location when the defendant entered and demanded that she step outside to fight. When the victim refused to do that, the defendant started to strike her in the face with her hands and then ripped her braids from her head. She had visible marks on her forehead. Security intervened, were witnesses, separated the defendant and the victim. They also called 911. The defendant fled to her apartment. Police went to that apartment, and when she answered the door, they arrested her. We've spoken to the victim today. She's requesting no contact. We're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial, no contact, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while in bond. Thank you.
And Ms. Nakira, you are on Zoom. If you want to contribute to the proceeding, you're more than welcome to unmute and start your video. Otherwise, you can remain silent. And Ms. Allen, this is 112 Cortlandt Street. Is that the apartment building? Is there a particular unit number she has to avoid?
No, that is the apartment building. I would not request that she avoid a particular unit number. She just needs to walk the other way and stay 200 yards away from this young woman if she's allowed to stay in that location.
Okay. Mr. McLean, anything to add?
Nothing, Your Honor, no objection.
All right. On the battery, it's going to be $1,500. The simple battery is $500. The total bond is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. She'll need to report to pretrial twice a month, even though it's a first arrest. The nature of this allegation will require twice a month. I want her to make sure that she stays away and has no contact with Nakira Williams. That means you have to stay 200 yards away from Miss Williams and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. Within 30 days of being released, You are to update the court clerk's office of your new mailing address. You are to stay away from the entire building at 112 Cortlandt Street. You're not to enter that building, and you're allowed a one-time visit with a police officer to retrieve your personal belongings. And then after that, you have to update us with a new address within 30 days. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. And your next court date will be sent to your new mailing address. Thank you.
You can have a seat back here, bench. Next, we can go to position number 9, Ms. Jones.
This is State versus Curtencia Jones, case number 24CR 7533C. Ms. Jones is accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property, a window, on November 4th, 2023. Ms. Jones, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Okay. Mr. Howard, how much bond did she get in the other case?
I forgot, but I know she bonded out. So this charge must have came up when she was getting released.
All right, thank you. Ms. McCakey?
Mr. Howard, what was that other case she had? Sorry, I wasn't aware.
It's 24 PI 006 or 008091.
Thank you.
Oh.
This incident happened at 3041 Landham Drive, apartment 8 in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Jasmine Trammell, who was also arrested at the time of the incident. The defendant is accused of shattering the victim's window by throwing a brick through her window. The parties had allegedly been having an ongoing dispute, and the victim was also arrested for discharging her firearm several times into the air after she went to meet up with the defendant and some of the defendant's family and friends for a confrontation. This, of course, happened after the defendant threw the brick at her window. I'm just going to take a look at what that other charge that she—
4,000. Oh, it's possession of a firearm during the commission.
That's the firearm matter you just referenced.
And that bond was 4,000.
The state's recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond, no further contact with Jasmine Trammell, stay away from that incident location, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
All right, Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, I just had passed her a note saying you talked to Mr. Cook, right? Because I have not talked to her. I'm trying to look up what we got here. You'll bear with me just a moment, or
I did not talk to her. I was informed that she had bonded out.
right. We had the wrong information. We thought she had bonded out.
I think in the process of doing so. Anything else, Mr. McLean?
I haven't spoken to her, Your Honor. If you'd like, I'll talk to her in the back and come back. We can go.
Okay. We'll hold on this, but the recommendation's a signature bond.
Okay.
Still want to talk to her? Yeah, that'll be fine. May we have someone who's represented by Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. We can go to position number 8, Mr. Hughley.
Okay. This is State versus La Francia Hughley, case number 24CR 7532E. Mr. Hughley is accused of criminal trespass at a Circle K gas station from November 5th, 2024. Mr. Hughley, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Keith Cook. Do you see Mr. Cook on the screen? Okay. I just need to know how many cycles, Mr. Howard?
22.
All right, thank you. Okay, Ms. Mokeke, anything to add?
Yes, Your Honor. He just pled guilty to trespassing at that same Circle K gas station on October 24th of 2024. He was ordered to stay away. That Case number is 24CR007005J. So now he's in violation of that probation order. The recommendation is $1,000 surety bond. Stay away from that incident location. Of course, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Mr. Cook, anything else to add?
Nothing else to add, Your Honor.
Bond, this is, by the way, Mr. Hughley's 11th arrest since 2019. He's had multiple arrests in 2023, a few in 2024, and it's going to be $1,000 surety bond. And Mr. Cook, if I'm doing SAP with Mr. Hughley, please understand that if he wants to take a plea, I'm not about to engage in a pattern of time served, release, rearrested, time served, release, rearrested. So there's got to be something solid being offered by the prosecutor if there is any offers made for Mr. Hughley the next time. His next court date is going to be November 19th, and he's stay 500 yards away from the Circle K gas station at 100 Lakewood Way. Thank you.
What was that amount?
1,000 surety. Ms. Mokeke, you all might want to look at this arrest record next time you all give a time served offer.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your
Are
Honor.
we-
We're back.
All right. And this was with regards to Ms. Murphy. Anything to add?
Ms. Jones?
Oh, sorry, yes, Curtinicia Jones, sorry, position 9.
She understands the signature bond. We have no objection, and I've explained to her the importance of the accuracy and updating, if necessary, of the clerk's office of the address.
What is her address to where she's being released? What's her mailing address?
29,
Street name.
it's 2950 MLK 7G.
Okay. Her bond is going to be 3,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. She needs to report to pretrial twice a month. She's to stay away from 3041 Landrum Drive, that entire complex, not just the apartment in question, and have no further contact with Jasmine, that's Jazzmyn, Trammell, Trammell. 200 yards away from Ms. Trammell in that location, and no contact with Ms. Trammell in any way, form, or manner. And she's not allowed to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and not possess or own any firearms. She's to surrender any and all firearms to the police for destruction within 48 hours of being released. And she will be subject to random screens for alcohol and or drugs by pretrial. The next court date will be sent to her MLK address. If she changes her address, please make sure we are the first to find out.
You said level 2?
Level 2.
What's the amount?
3,500.
35. And this is Jones, correct?
Correct.
She's
Okay.
17 years old, I think. Isn't she? Is she?
I didn't see that. Are you 17?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yeah.
Who do you live with? Mom or dad or guardian? Who do you live with? What's your mother's name?
Melissa Jones.
Say it again.
Melissa Jones.
Melissa Jones. All right. Okay, I will need Miss Melissa Jones to co-sign the bond.
Okay.
And have you got your high school diploma or completed a GED?
I'm actually in the school to take a trade for nursing.
All right, then I'll need you to make sure that you continue with your education.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we can go to position number 3, Ms. Duda.
Okay. Thank you. This is State versus Charlisa Bruda, accused of simple battery against a police officer and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer from November 5th, 2024. Ms. Druder, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Would that be correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any priors?
6. 2022 simple battery against police, NOLO. 2022 probation. 2019 trespass, giving false name. Felony obstruction, simple battery, first offender.
She's got a Smyrna hold. I see a Smyrna City jail hold.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Mokeke, I've already read the warrant. Apparently, allegedly resisting arrest and bit an officer's hand. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is a $2,000 surety bond, $1,000 on each count, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I'm not sure what she was doing at the incident location. It is Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. I'm not sure if she works there or what was necessarily going on. So at this time, we're not requesting a
That's what I'm
stay away.
saying.
I'm sorry, they muted courtroom too, so I have no idea what she said.
Don't talk, please. Just don't talk.
Ms. Druder, did you want to add something? You have the right to remain silent.
Then I should be silent, right?
I believe that's what your attorney is going to recommend.
Uh-huh.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Mokeke?
No, nothing else, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client works. She provides physical therapy, sort of mental therapy, psychic readings. It's a legitimate business where people pay her for that, and that is it's an interesting business, actually. I believe the Sandy Springs is the hold rather than Smyrna, but I'm not sure. I thought I'd look that up, perhaps. She is a graduate of Meadow Creek High School in Norcross, and she has had some college. And we would ask the court to consider a signature bond, or if not a signature bond, as low as possible, the surety bond.
On the simple battery against a police officer, that's going to be $1,500, and the willful obstruction is $500. It's a $2,000 surety bond. No further violent contact with law enforcement. And once she makes bond, she will be released to her current hold. I read Smyrna City Jail. So if she makes bond, Smyrna City would have to come and send their police officers to pick her up on her outstanding hold.
Very good.
And her next court date is going to be November 19th.
No, I can't make it.
You-
No, I'm staying here in jail then, because you're a bad lawyer, like, for real.
All right.
I'm ready to go.
Same
Bye.
events right there.
All right, next case.
We can go to position number 2, Mr. Brown.
Trenton Brown.
Yes, Your Honor.
I can't leave, please.
No, you're gonna have to wait till somebody come and get you.
The one guys are going against a bad lawyer.
Deputy, please bring Miss Druder back.
No, she has to have a seat, Your Honor.
No, she can be seated right there. Miss Druder, this is Judge Law. Sit down where you were. One more outburst from you, that's changing to a cash bond. I'm going to find you in contempt. Do you understand? This is not the venue to disparage professionals. Do you understand? All right. Position number 2, we have Trenton Brown, accused of theft by taking on November 5th, 2024, case number 24CR 7524C. Mr. Brown, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. And any priors, Mr. Howard?
I think I counted about 6. Last arrest was in 2002, though.
All right, thank you. Ms. Mokeke, I'm familiar with the warrant regarding the incident at Publix. What's the recommendation?
The state's recommendation is a signature bond, no further contact with the victim, Jordan Jackson, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. At this time, we're not requesting a stay away since he worked at the incident location. I'm not sure if he still works there, but we, of course, would not want to keep him from his job.
Right. Mr. McLean, any objection to the recommendation?
No objection, Your Honor. Thank
Okay.
you.
Mr. Brown, your bond is going to be set at $2,500. This is going to be a signature bond through pretrial level 1. You'll have to report to pretrial once a month. And if you get arrested again, or if you fail to report, your signature bond will be converted to a surety bond. You are to have no further contact with Jordan Jackson. You may return to the Publix at 11800 Haynes Bridge Road only and only if you are continuing employment there. If your employment has been terminated, you have to stay away from that location. That means staying 200 yards away from that location. Please do not go there to shop for your groceries. You'll need to find somewhere else. Next court date will be sent to your current mailing address. If you change your address, make sure you update the court. Thank you.
Yeah, you have to see that in the wheelchair. Please go to position number one, Mr.
Ahukam.
Position number one.
I got it. This is State versus Kenneth Ahukana, accused of simple battery and stalking from November 4th, case number 24 CR 7523B. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Cook. Any priors?
Second, 2022 battery DV PTI.
Come on.
Was that in Fulton County?
I didn't make a note of it if it was.
Okay.
I have to look.
It was Gwinnett? Okay, thank you. And Ms. Mukeke, I've read the warrant, but you can add anything you want.
I just want to add that we did have a chance to speak with the victim, who says that him and the defendant used to be classmates at GSU, but the defendant no longer goes there. He says that this has been going on for the past 2 years. They used to be friends, but the victim decided he no longer wanted to be friends with the defendant. And then once he told the defendant this, the defendant began sending threats to the victim's family and friends, threatening to kill the victim. The past 3 weeks, the defendant has been coming to campus to look for the victim. This was the first time he's seen the defendant, and the defendant, of course, attacked him. The victim did try to file a TPO in the past, but they were unable to serve the defendant. The victim, of course, wants no contact, wants him to stay away from GSU campus as he's no longer a student there. The state's recommendation would be for a signature bond, that the defendant have no further contact with the victim or the victim's family, that he stay away from the GSU campus, that he stays away from the victim's residence. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I believe the victim is on the Zoom. If we could please sound for Mr. Etinoza Amoigu. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that last name.
Yes, that's me.
All right, sir, you need your video on.
Let me see, turn it on. Yes,
Go
ma'am.
put a shirt on and take your hat off.
Look for a shirt.
Go put a shirt on and take your hat off. My God, that's not how you dress for court.
Oh, sorry
Go.
about
Go. All right.
Your Honor,
Mr.
we would have no objection to the signature bond and the conditions.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ahukana, on the simple battery, your bond's going to be set at 2,000. On the stalking, it's going to be set at 2,000. This is a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. Well, actually, level 1. You will report to pretrial once a month. You are to stay 200 yards away from the victim, Mr. Emogui Omai. Okay, there he is. Mr. Edenosa, how do you pronounce your full name?
Etinosa Amoigu.
Okay. Miss Bridgewater, that's who he has to stay 200 yards away from. And he's also to stay away from all GSU property. He's not allowed back at any property that belongs to Georgia State University. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Mr. Ahukana, no contact with the victim also includes social media. So you cannot contact or discuss the victim in any way, form, or manner on any social media platform. If it's discovered that you are, all the authorities have to do is have you rearrested, your signature bond will be revoked, and you would need to pay $4,000 to be released the next time. We'll need your current mailing address is the 2720 Hunters Pond Lane in Snellville, your correct address?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's where we will send notice for you to come back to court when summoned. As far as Mr. Etinoza is concerned, you can obtain that address if you plan to refile a petition for a protective order. Thank you.
Okay.
That's per judge.
Yeah. Does he have any holes? He doesn't have any holes, does he?
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And why is it per judge? It was PTI, wasn't it, on the prior battery?
Yeah, but this seemed a little odd to me.
All right, that's fine. All right. Okay, who do we have next?
I better mute my sound here.
Position number 5, Mr. Hammond. Yes, if your name is called, you have a seat in the green chair. I mean, plenty of people.
Antonio Hammonds, if you please come forward and have a seat in front of the monitor. Thank you. Mr. Hammonds has been accused of loitering and prowling on November 4th, 2024, in case 24 CR 7528J. Mr. Hammonds, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Cook. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Yeah, it's a lot now, so bear with me. 28 total. Open case, you got an open drug trafficking, possession of a Schedule 1, sale of marijuana, possession of a Schedule 3, 4, or 5, possession of a Schedule 2, possession of a firearm. That's 23 SC 005-374. Open case out of state court, battery, hindering 911 call, cruelty. It's 22 CR 000078J.
Oh, and that's good. Thank you so much.
I
I'm so sorry, but Ms. Mokeki, what is the recommendation for loitering and prowling at Irby Avenue?
The state's recommendation is $1,000 surety bond. Stay away from the incident location. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol. This defendant has multiple FTAs. His 28 arrest cycles show that he will most likely reoffend. He does have violent arrests and convictions. So it's our position that he is not eligible for a signature bond.
Okay. The bond is, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Cook, anything else to add?
Well, yeah, it's my client's position that he and a group of people were visiting someone at the apartment complex. I believe it's an apartment complex. And they apparently just parked in a reserved parking spot. When they came out, the officer was there and charged him with loitering and prowling. So that doesn't seem too egregious, but we would be seeking a signature bond if possible. We understand the record, but given the circumstances of this particular case.
All right. The warrant seems to have a different story, but at the present time, his bond is going to be set at a $500 cash bond only. He's to stay away 500 yards away from 65 Irby Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. And he shall not be released, because considering that he's got a failure to appear, he's got a bench warrant issued by Judge Besson, I believe, in 22 CR 78J. So his next court date is going to be November 19th. I think his bench warrant hearing is on December 19th, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you.
December 19th?
Yes. Sorry, wrong. We can go to position number 6, Mr. Hayes.
Okay. Mr. Brian Hayes, his case number is 24 CR 007529F, accused of 2 counts of simple battery family violence from June 1st, 2024. Mr. Hayes, your original charges were battery and 2 counts of cruelty, but I understand the cruelty has been NOD'd and the battery amended to 2 counts of simple battery. Is that correct, Ms. Mukeke?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right. So, Mr. Hayes, these are the 2 misdemeanor charges against you. You've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Cook.
5 total.
Okay.
2018 suspended license, 2012 battery, 2019 disorderly conduct conviction.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Mukeke, what's the recommendation for a bond?
The recommendation is $1,000 surety bond on each count of simple battery. No further violent contact with the victim. Stay away from the incident location. That he undergo an FVIP. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. We have spoken with the victim, Miss
Maddox.
Miss Maddox. She stated that her and the defendant are in an on-again, off-again relationship. They do not live together, but they do, of course, share those 2 children. She clarified that the defendant did not slam her head into the door, but pushed her into the door. She did confirm that he punched her repeatedly, but she did not sustain injuries during the altercation. She states nothing like this has happened before. They have been in contact since this incident, and there has been no violence, and she's not in fear of him and wants to continue contact.
Okay. Miss Alexis Maddox, if you want to contribute to the proceedings, you would need to unmute and start your video. All right, Mr. Cook, anything else to add?
No, I'm here.
All right, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right, so I guess the officer was wrong and we'll probably have to review his body cam footage. What else would you like to add?
I want him to do an alcohol class.
An alcohol class?
Yeah.
Is that how he learns how to bartend or what?
No, I just don't want him to do no alcohol. I don't want him to drink any alcohol.
Oh, is that when things go wrong?
Not necessarily. It don't always just go wrong. It's just I just prefer him sober.
I can't force someone to do AA or an alcohol evaluation unless you give me a reason.
That's when the problems occur. Everything be fine until then.
And I appreciate your honesty. Thank you. Thank you. Right. You may mute your screen. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, sir. My client is 41 years old. He works in as a trucker and logistics owner operator of a trucking business. He denies the claims as stated in the warrant, and we would object to the FBIP and would be seeking a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate.
All right, thank you. On each count of simple battery family violence, it's going to be $2,500. This is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services level 2. Mr. Hayes, you are to report to pretrial in person twice a month. You're not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and you're not allowed to own or possess or have any firearms on your person, in your vehicle, or anywhere near you. You're also to stay away from 76 Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway, Unit 110 in Atlanta, Georgia, if that's where you all currently reside. But in either effect, you are to have no further contact with Alexis Maddox.
No, ma'am.
Miss Maddox, I understand your position, but that's what I'm ruling. So please.
But how would he see his kids?
Mute your screen. Thank you. You are to have no further contact with Alexis Maddox. You are to stay 200 yards away from her, not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, and you're not even to discuss her on social media. If you share children with Miss Maddox, you shall file a legitimation action with the appropriate superior court and get a court order for joint visitation and custody. But till then, you're not allowed to have any contact with Miss Maddox and the children unless there is a superior court order from a legitimation action. Within 30 days of being released, you shall enroll in a domestic violence intervention program. This is a 26-week program where you would need to attend each class at your expense. You must show proof to pretrial that you are attending, you have enrolled and attending those classes. Failure to attend the classes, failure to comply with the conditions can result in your signature bond being revoked and converted to a surety bond. Do you understand, Mr. Hayes?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Oh, Mr. Howard also put down random screens for alcohol and drugs.
Put on the bond order.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. ACDC here.
All right, Deputy Milton, how many folks do you have?
Right now I have 2. The other one is on her way up.
Okay.
I have position 10, Miss Kelham, before you.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Judge Lal, and my announcement applies to everyone who's at ACDC, both the other lady as well. We're going to be addressing each of your misdemeanor cases. Please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney, and if you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. This is State versus India Killen, accused of battery, family violence, and simple battery, family violence from July 10th, 2024. Ms. Killen, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Keith Cook. Okay, Ms. Allen.
I think we lost service.
Is everybody frozen?
No, I think it's good.
Yeah, I think everybody froze.
Oh,
I see no movement with anyone.
Defendant struck his girlfriend.
And y'all went out. Y'all lost service.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Nobody, yes.
Okay.
I apologize.
That's all right. Miss Allen, it is Miss India Kalem's first arrest.
Yes.
And I've read the warrant involving Jermaine Edwards and a Miss Williams. Do you have anything to add?
Mess with it.
The defendant and the victim share a child together. She came to his residence unannounced, forced her way in. When she was asked to leave, she refused. She then assaulted the current girlfriend of the victim, and when he intervened, she struck him multiple times with her fists. He received a laceration to his left hand. He was treated by EMS on scene. He was reported, it says he had a minor injury to his face. The defendant does not live there. We would ask for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial, no contact with Jermaine Edwin, stay away from that location, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Mr. Edwin, I believe, has joined us on Zoom. I see Jermaine's iPhone. If you could sound for him. Thank you.
Mr. Edwin, if you'd like to contribute to the proceeding, please start your video and unmute. All right, my concern about signature bond is that I've got a South Carolina address for the defendant. I don't have anything local for her. So, Mr. Cook, anything to, oh, there he goes. Mr. Edwin? All right, stop walking. Stop walking. Stop walking. All right. Raise the phone in front of you if that's what you're using. And raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right, whatever device you're using for audio is not very good. So please tell me as clearly as possible what you'd like me to know.
Can you guys hear me?
Much better.
Can you guys hear me better?
Yes, much better.
Dang, I can't even hear it. Hello?
Put your headphone back on if that's helping you hear.
Just they got an Atlanta address on her PSA, so you might want to ask her about it. It's a 5450 Glen Ridge.
All right. Mr. Edwin, what would you like to tell the court?
I don't want to tell the court anything as of now. I just want to follow up to the next court date because what's more important to me right now is my custody battle.
All right. Are you in the middle of a legitimation action?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much. You may mute your phone. Thank you. Mr. Cook, does your client have a local address?
She gave me just the address in Elgin, South Carolina, Your Honor.
Okay. So she doesn't live in Georgia?
No, she comes here and visits.
All right. Anything else to add then, sir?
Only that her position is there was an argument, but there was no physical interaction.
All right. On the battery charge is going to be $1,000 surety. On the simple battery is 500 surety. Her total bond is a 1,500 surety. No further contact with Jermaine Edwin. And I don't know what the other young lady's name is. Her last name was Williams. So, Mr. Edwin, are you still dating Miss Williams? All right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What's her first name?
Tazaya,
Spell it.
Tazaya.
All right, Tazaya Williams. No further contact with these two individuals. The only time that Miss Calum is allowed to have contact with Mr. Edwin is when they're in the middle of a of a court proceeding, whether it involves custody or family law, and that contact shall be strictly limited through their attorneys or in the middle of a court proceeding. Ms. Calum, you are otherwise to stay 200 yards away from 2050 Cheshire Bridge Road, that entire location, and make sure that you do not consume any illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons and firearms. I will allow for third-party transfer of visitation of the minor child that you share with Mr. Edwin, only in accordance with any family plan or parenting plan established by the custody case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, the next court date is going to be November 19th. Thank you.
I'm sorry?
Her next court date is November 19th, unless she bonds out.
Thank you.
Come on, Ms. Walker. Next is position 16, Ms. Walker.
Your Honor, I forwarded to Your Honor and to the state a support letter from PAD regarding Ms. Walker. Did everybody get that? I did it shortly ago because we had computer glitches and I finally was able to forward.
All right. That's only if she gets released to PAD. That they're willing to take her, and she's agreed to go into the program. My greatest concern is her criminal history record and the nature of the charge. So
Right.
I'm going to proceed at the present time.
Right. Emma Weinstein is on the Zoom, and she is the author of the support letter, and she's with PAD.
Okay, I'll make a note to make sure she has her say. This is State versus Michelle Walker, case number 24CR 7522G. Ms. Walker is accused of criminal trespass with regard to allegedly entering a stranger's vehicle on November 4th, 2024. Ms. Walker, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Michael McLean. Any prior, Mr. Howard?
30. I got one open entering auto. 24 SC 003-814. Another open 24 SC 003-994. 2022 FTA, 2020 simple assault, 2019 disorderly conduct conviction, 2019 trespass conviction, 2019 shoplifting no-load, another 2019 trespass conviction. You want me to keep going?
No, you're good. Thank you. Miss Allen, there's a recommendation that she enroll in the PAD program. What's the state's position?
The state is not working with PAD at this point, Your Honor. We've accused this case. PAD is voluntary, and in our experience, they offer people services. They get a consent bond through this process, and then people generally don't continue to use their services. So we're not working with PAD. My question, I guess, I sent back to Mr. McLean was, what was the date of the letter that he provided? Mrs. Walker was arrested on the same day she was found asleep inside a stranger's vehicle for a theft by receiving stolen property, and she was on first appearance today. She has 2 open entering autos in Superior Court from June of 2024. In 2020, she had an entering auto case dismissed following her completion of substance abuse treatment. Prior to that, in 2019, she had 5 convictions for criminal trespass in that year. one in 2020 and then a disorderly in 2020, and that's as far back as I went. We're more than happy to support Mrs. Walker in her work with the ACT team. That's what it looks like. This letter says that she's been referred to ACT for behavioral services. And so we're in support of any services she's receiving, Your Honor, but there are no agreements at this point for anything related to her bond or her case. There's some concerns. Our recommendation is $1,000 surety bond. Stay away from the location, 1658 Langston Avenue. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Miss Emma Weinstein, Levy, would you like to address this, or would you like to be with Defense Counsel McLean?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I apologize. There's somebody blowing leaves right outside of where I'm working, so it's quite difficult to hear or speak.
All right. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? Please unmute. All right. The letter that you sent to Mr. McLean, what was the date of that letter?
I just updated it for today.
Okay, thank you. And anything else to add?
She has been successfully referred to the ACT team at Grady. We facilitated that process, and she has consented to work with us. Clinician Joan Hines is aware of this court hearing, was not able to attend, but is in support as well.
She's here. She's here.
Great. Hi, Joan.
Okay, anything else?
Ms. Walker has agreed to continue working with us, and I believe that we can continue to be helping her in the community.
All right. Ms. Hines, did you want to contribute to this hearing?
Sure.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
And what would you like to tell us?
Well, just that we're new to Miss Walker. However, there is evidence of substance use, and she's diagnosed with a severe and persistent mental illness that contributes to why she keeps entering these cars. So, you know, she hasn't met with our psychiatrist yet. We haven't even got to start her on medication yet. So I don't know if she's self-medicating with the drugs or what, but that's all that's at play. I don't think she's doing anything malicious or even intentional. It's a part of her delusion. She thinks they're her cars. She thinks it's, you know.
What's my concern is this is her third arrest in 2024 with 2 felony cases. So I'll have to think about this. Thank you. Mr. McLean, anything else to add?
Just, Your Honor, that it is at 10 Park Place that the ACT team, they have several ACT teams, of course, in downtown Atlanta, but it's the 10 Park Place team that would be working with her. She has temporary housing right now. That's, I think, just a week, and then there's possibilities, I suppose, of housing after that. Thank you. We would ask the court to consider anything we can do to get her on the right path, whatever housing.
Right. If I release her, I have no assurance that she's going to stick to the right path, given that this is a third arrest for a similar offense just in 2024. Mr. McLean is going to be a $1,500 surety bond to stay away from the location and to have no contact, which is 1658 Langston Avenue in Atlanta. No contact with Silver, CYLVER, Finney, FINNIE. And in the event that the public defender's office has a social worker visit, we can consider whether she can be released to any kind of program in order to make sure that she complies. But just cutting her loose right now to stray to a possible 4th offense, I'm not comfortable with that.
And I'll get that social worker visit underway, Your Honor.
All right,
Thank
Mr. Levy?
Thank y'all.
If I may, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I apologize. I forgot to mention this. Ms. Walker is on the waiting list for permanent supportive housing in the city of Atlanta through the coordinated entry process, and she is meeting the prioritization status. So that is on the horizon as well as those opportunities become available.
All right, if she bonds out, then she can definitely attend it. Otherwise, hopefully she'll be able to address that on November 19th. That's her next court date. Thank you.
Next, we have position number 4, Ms. Etheridge. Come on, Ms. Etheridge.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello, fine, thank you. This is State versus Lacey Etheridge, 24 CR 7526F. Ms. Etheridge, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, the statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, we're going to appoint Mr. Keith Cook to represent you at the present time. You have been charged with two separate counts of battery involving a Lisa Shanice Murray from November 5th, 2024, under case number 24 CR 7526F. How many cycles, Mr. Howard?
4.
Okay.
Got an open trespass out of the cab as of September. A dismissed shoplifting, a dismissed vice charge out of Vada. That's it.
All right, thank you. Ms. McKay?
Yes, Your Honor. I just want to let the court know that we have had an opportunity to speak with the victim, Ms. Lisa Murray, who stated that she does not know the defendant and had never met the defendant before this incident. She said that she was leaving work and was randomly attacked. No words were exchanged between the parties. She believes the defendant was having a MH episode. She, of course, wants no contact and a stay away. The state's recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond on each count of battery. Stay away from that incident location. No further contact with the victim, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I understand the defendant doesn't have an extensive criminal history, but the randomness of the attack does raise some concerns that she might have some MH issues. We would also be recommending a social worker visit. If the court is not inclined to grant a surety bond and is inclined to grant a signature bond, then we would ask that she at least undergo a BHET. I would ask that we for the victim, Ms. Lisa Murray.
Ms. Lisa Murray, if you want to contribute to the proceedings, you'll need to unmute and start your video.
Or, no, that's not.
All right, Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, my client's position is that Ms. Murray was the aggressor here, and I think even the warrant states that my client is the one who approached the police to alert them to what was happening. She tells me, homeless. And it's not currently in a shelter on a regular basis. She's 29 years old. It's not employed and has no income. Her mother does live here in town. Nothing further, Your Honor.
On the battery, count 1 is going to be 1,000. On count 2 is going to be 500. That's a $1,500 surety bond. Next court date is going to be November 19th. No further contact with Miss Lisa Shanice Murray, and to stay away from I believe it was the Department of Driver Services.
No, that's a different case, Your Honor.
This GSU property?
I'm sorry?
Was this GSU property then?
Yes.
It was.
It is GSU property, I'm sorry.
Okay, so stay away from all property belonging to Georgia State University. Mr. Cook, I would recommend a social worker visit. Would you like me to reset this to a Thursday at 11 a.m. calendar, or would you like me to keep it to the November 19th calendar?
Thursday would be tomorrow, you mean?
No, it'll be November 21st.
The earliest calendar you have available.
For the 11 a.m. competency calendar?
Yes.
That would be November 21st at 11 a.m. All right.
Thank you.
Deputy Milton, it looks like Miss Etheridge. Miss
Hello, I can't talk.
Yes,
so
you.
This is what the fact that you have now brought up my court cases. This has been an ongoing. It's so stressful for the person that I do have to speak on the behalf of. This has been going on since 2020.
No.
And
Listen to the judge.
This has been going on since 2020. And so the fact that you brought up my second court case, anybody, like my personality, Great Clips can speak on my behalf and know that I'm a great worker and I've been working there for a long time. And I know how I've been getting harassed already and how it can be flipped and looked at. I basically went and checked on my health and went to check on my eyesight, my health, and everything. And I got a pituitary gland, a tumor in my gland. And it kind of does make the healthcare look bad because why wouldn't y'all put this kind of stuff in the hospital for one?
Jeffrey
And
Milton?
then on top of that, with the
Yes,
medication,
Your Honor.
it makes it look even worse
All right,
because
may we be excused, Your Honor?
Thank you. We're good. Thank you. All right.
We can go to position number 7, Mr. Howard.
Mr. McLean, with regards to the last case we held with you regarding
Walker?
yes. Did you want me to reset it to November 19th, or did you want me to put it on the 11 a.m. calendar?
The 11 comp calendar?
Okay, that would be on November 21st.
There's not one before that?
I don't know if we can get to it. Well, yeah, I guess we can put it on November 14th.
That'd be even better.
Would you be able to get the social worker visit by then?
Yes, Your Honor, and I'll talk to Mr. Bartels about it.
All right, so this is for Walker, right?
Right.
Okay, so so Ms. Bridgewater, for position 16 is going to be reset to November 14 at 11 a.m. And Mr. Cook for I'm so sorry.
Etheridge.
Etheridge, yes. That's also going to be reset to November 14th at 11 a.m.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and I'm sorry, courtroom 2, who do we have right now?
Oh.
What's the name?
Position number 7, Your Honor, Mr. Howard.
Yeah, Nathaniel Howard is accused of disorderly conduct and simple battery. Apparently at 400 Whitehall Street on November 5th, 2024, in case number 24 CR 7530J. Mr. Howard, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. McLean.
33.
33, okay.
Got an open case out of, hold on. No, that's a conviction. Simple assault, terrorist threat, simple battery, 22 CR 007 750F. 2020 ag assault, terrorist threats conviction. 2019 FTA probation. 2018 ag assault conviction. 2017 battery conviction.
That's good. Thank you. Ms. McCarthy, this is the DDS issue.
Yes, this is the one, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is a $1,500 surety bond on the simple battery, a $500 surety bond on the disorderly conduct, stay away from the incident location, no further contact with the victim, Aloria Gore, who is the DDS security officer, the defendant, spit on, that he undergo anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. The defendant's criminal history includes over a dozen violent arrests dating back from the 1970s. So there is a concern that he is a danger to the community at large. With over 30 arrest cycles, there's also a concern that he will reoffend.
Thank you. Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, my client is 68 years old. He is currently not working. He is disabled and on SSI. We understand the nature of the record. His position is he was there, DDS, to obtain a state ID when he was accosted by the security guard.
All right. Is there an Aurelia Gore on Zoom? Okay. Anything else, Mr. Cook?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
On the disorderly conduct is 500, and on the simple battery is 750. The total bond is 1,250. It is a surety bond. We're going to reset both his cases, this one and 22 CR 007 750F, to the next court date of November 19th no contact with Miss Aurelia Gore, and to stay away from the DDS office at 400 Whitehall Street in Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Please hold for a second. All right, let's continue. Who's next?
This is gonna be position number 11, Mr. Javaris Matthews.
Thank you. This is Javaris Matthews, accused of theft by receiving stolen property from May 13th, 2024, apparently at the mailroom of an apartment complex. Mr. Matthews, your case number is 24CR 7516Y. You presently also have a bench warrant or a failure to appear bench warrant from Judge McBurney in 24 SC 2184. Anything else to add, Mr. Howard?
5 total, 2024 probation violation.
All right, thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. The initial theft from the mailroom at the location, which is 460 Eva Davis Way, was on May the 13th. On May the 21st, 2024, the defendant used his driver's license and was captured on surveillance, selling the stolen phone at the Echo ATM machine at the Walmart. He received $825 for that iPhone. He received $200 for that iPhone. Its value is over $800, Your Honor. You heard his criminal history. He just served a PV sentence of 5 days, I believe, in Clayton County, and he's got an active failure to appear out of this county. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety. No contact with the victim. Her name is Melantha, Melantha Hill. Stay away from 46 Eva Davis Way, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Okay. Does he still reside at that location?
I did not see an address for this gentleman in our document, so I'm not sure what he claims his address is.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client lives in Ellenwood, Georgia, at the Abbey Circle address shown on some of these documents.
Let me see.
Abbey is misspelled. They put P's instead of B's for Abbey. I don't know why.
I thought I saw in Ellenwood. I just wanted to be sure he wasn't living at that complex.
Right. Yeah, he's in Ellenwood.
Okay. Anything else?
Your Honor, my client is a high school graduate of Morrow High School. He's been to college for a year, studying business management, or at least the sort of things you take as a freshman anyway, just, the sociology and English and things like that. Not working on the degree so much at that time. Your Honor, he works at Take 5, which is an oil change place, a quick oil change place. They take 5 minutes. He's worked at Amazon. He's worked at C.W. Matthews Construction. He's worked as an airport ramp agent several months to a year and a half each time. He's worked at a Kroger warehouse, at a FedEx. Your Honor, while he disagrees with the facts of this case, I think my reading could be absolutely erroneous, but I thought maybe the original incident was May 1st and was being investigated by the 13th. But at any rate, that's not the quibble. The thing is, he's accused of being the person who turned it into the eco machine. And because of the nature of the charge, his background, realizing that he does have a legal background as well, we'd ask the court to consider a signature bond.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, he can't be released because of that Superior Court bench warrant.
Correct.
Theft by receiving stolen property, his bond is going to be set at $1,500. It is a surety bond. No release pending the lift of the bench warrant in 24 SC 002184. To stay away from the apartment complex, the entire complex at 460 Eva Davis Way, and to have no contact with Melantha Hill. and his next court date is going to be November 19th, subject to a release from the bench warrant.
Yes, Your Honor. But I did want to make sure that they understood the correct mailing address, at which he does receive good mail, is ABBEY, the word Abbey. Right, okay.
Mr. Bridgewater, do you see his address is incorrectly spelled? It's supposed to be Abbey Way, it's spelled Abbey. So,
Can you give me the correct spelling, please?
Abbey Circle.
B-E-Y.
Right, Abbey Circle.
A-B-B-E-Y?
Yes, sir, and it's circle.
England, Y, yes?
Abbey Circle. Right.
Okay, and he's supposed to stay away from 460 Eva Davis Way?
Correct, in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes.
For this case. That is.
All right, next case, please. I
Thank
have a generic Paul, Aaron Sylvester, Philip Thorpe, and Cameron Williams. Who am I addressing?
Disposition 13.
All right. Mr. Generic Paul is accused of criminal trespass on November 5th, 2024. Mr. Paul, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Mr. McLean. How many cycles, if any?
32. On probation out of Forsyth for trespass as of July. On probation in Fulton for burglary. 24 SC 188254. 2024 probation, 2023 probation. 2022 trespass conviction, 2021 trespass nolo.
Thank you, that's good. Miss Allen, this
Thank
is
you.
regarding a Wilson Lopez. I don't see a Mr. Lopez here. Yes, what would you recommend?
Your Honor, the tenant of apartment 1125 at 11130 Medlock Bridge Road woke up with the defendant in his apartment. He does not know the defendant and did not allow him inside. He asked the defendant to leave. The defendant told him, the victim, and police that he was looking for his family or a friend. He referenced 2410 as the unit he was looking for, and that does not exist at the location. A nearby neighbor also reported that they had heard the jiggling of their own doorknob at the same time as if someone were trying to come in. This defendant has a 2004 burglary conviction, a 2009 burglary conviction, a 2011 burglary conviction, a 2022 burglary conviction, and the one you just heard about with the 24 SC case, he just had a probation revocation on. Based on the criminal history and the fact that this gentleman was in someone's residence when they woke up. We're asking for a $2,000 surety in order to stay away from the location at 11130 Medlock Bridge Road. No contact with the victim in this case. Excuse me, Wilson Lopez, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, our defense arguments in favor of asking the court for a signature bond would be as follows. He went to Riverdale High School in Clayton County and graduated. He has worked at the noodle place called White Bull, and he's there now. And he has worked in a warehouse in 2010. He's worked at restaurants. He's worked at, including Carrabba's. He's had various jobs. So we understand that his record looks bad, but he also has several good points, Your Honor.
Where is the current place of employment? What place? What city?
It's called White Bull and it's noodle-based food. Where is it?
Decatur, Georgia. Downtown Decatur.
Downtown Decatur.
In Decatur, Georgia.
Yes, ma'am.
A real foodie place.
All right. So, anything else, Mr. McLean?
I'm not a threat to society. I'm a good person. There's more to the situation.
Right. And he's been in Georgia all his life. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Paul, I have no doubt that you aspire or are a good person, but my concern is that you've got 32 cycles, arrest cycles.
I understand that, ma'am.
It doesn't look good. You've got multiple probation violations, multiple convictions for trespass. You got a conviction for burglary. You work in Decatur. You live in Riverdale.
No,
And-
no. I live in Decatur. Riverdale is where I'm from.
Okay, that doesn't help the situation. You live in Decatur, you work in Decatur, and you were found in someone's apartment in Johns Creek, Georgia. Bond is set at $2,000 surety bond. You are to have no further contact with Wilson Lopez, and you are to stay 500 yards away from the entire apartment complex at 11130 Medlock Bridge Road in Johns Creek. If you're seen within 500 yards, that's the length of 5 football fields. I don't know how far that is, whether it's half a mile or 1 mile, but if you're seen anywhere in that location, you'll be arrested again. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, what is a charity
You don't know what a surety bond is?
surety?
A regular bond, good bond, surety bond, those are all synonyms. It's a bond for which you can either put up cash, Georgia real estate, or a surety company, such as a bonding company.
All right, you can have a seat in the third row. Next, we can go to position number 14, Mr. Sylvester.
Mr. Paul's next court date is November 19th. This is State versus Aaron Sylvester, case 24 CR 7520D. Mr. Sylvester, you've been accused of 2 separate counts of battery family violence involving one Evelyn Sanford from November 2nd, 2024. You've been advised of your rights and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
2016 suspended license. Before that was like a 2000 armed robbery conviction.
Miss Allen?
Your Honor, this incident is out of East Point, specifically at the Days Inn at 4498 Washington Road. The victim in this case, Evelyn Sanford, still lives at that location. She and the defendant have been in a relationship for a long period of time and were staying at the location. They both in their police reports are listed as having the same address, I guess, prior to that, 673 McDonald Street. Police were called by employees there at the Days Inn. She had come into the lobby. She was visibly bleeding from her lip and her nose and reported that she'd been assaulted by her roommate or her boyfriend, excuse me. When she was seen by police, she again was observed to have blood coming from her mouth and her nose. She reported she'd been punched in the face, that the defendant woke her up. They were laying down asleep and part of his body was over her head, her face. And so she was asking, "Are you asleep?" She was not sure what was going on. He became irate and struck her. She told the police he was still in room 127. Police went to the room. The defendant spoke with them and denied he put his hands on her, says she likes to make things up and that they argued and she didn't want him to leave. We have been in touch with the victim, Ms. Sanford. I believe she's on the Zoom. She corroborated the information in the report. She also reported that she'd been grabbed by her neck and that she's got some hearing issues as a result of being struck in the head multiple times. She is requesting no contact and to stay away from the location there where she's still staying. At 4498 Washington Road. We'd be asking for a $2,000 surety bond, Your Honor. Stay away, no contact with the victim and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And if you would sound for Evelyn Sanford.
Ms. Sanford, you are on Zoom if you'd like to unmute and all right, Mr. McLean. Looks like she tried, but we've lost her video and audio, so.
Usually comes on within a few seconds, but yes, Your Honor. The McDonald Street, I suppose, would not be a stay away thing then. He's got his GED. He's had some college. My client is 43. His record's not as extensive as some I've heard recently. And considering that, he's working security work for a company called AEA, doing security work, and he is very local. He's lived here all his life, or essentially all his life since well, at least a dozen years ago, at least since 2012. I'll put it that way. So I shouldn't say all his adult life.
Okay.
Thank
Miss anything else, sir?
you. Nothing else.
Evelyn Sanford? All right. All right, Miss Sandra, I don't know who you are, but you need to unmute and start your video. All right. On the first count of battery family violence, that's going to be 2,500. The second count is going to be 2,500. That's a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services level 2. Mr. Sylvester, as long as you maintain a current mailing address, you will need to report to pretrial twice a month. You are to have no further contact with Evelyn Sanford. You have to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. You are to stay 200 yards away from the Days Inn Motel at 4498 Washington Road, and that is the entire motel, not just any particular room. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. You will be subject to random screens for alcohol and drugs by pretrial. While you are released on a signature bond, you will enroll and complete a domestic violence intervention program. You have to enroll in the program and start taking classes within 30 days of being released. You must show proof of enrollment and attendance to your pretrial officer. Failure to comply with these conditions will result in your bond being revoked and converted to a cash bond or a surety bond. Miss Sandra, I don't know what you're saying, so you need to unmute if you want to be addressed. Otherwise, you can reach out to the Victim Advocate's Office.
Your Honor, it sounds like that 673 address is her mother's address, and so we'd be requesting a stay away from 673 McDonald Street if that's her relative's place of residence.
That's appropriate. So I stand corrected. I'm sorry.
I don't.
Where would you?
So he's living at his Evelyn Sanford's mother's house?
No, that's the residence that they both had on the police report as their last residence. They were living at the hotel in East Point when this incident occurred, and that's where the victim still currently lives. So her mother lives at 673 McDonald Street, where the both of them used to live, and she and this defendant moved to the hotel, and that's where the victim is remaining.
So 673 McDonald Street is not his address?
That's not.
It was for a period of time, but they have left that address, and that is her mother's residence.
Okay. I'm just saying. Mr. McLean, is that your client's current address?
If I might, Your Honor, let me get some detail on where he can get his good mail and where he can sleep.
Okay.
Could we, Deputy?
In the meantime, Ms. Bridgewater, you can also include stay away from 673 McDonald Street in Atlanta, Georgia, 30312. And within 30 days of being released, he has to update the court with his current mailing address, which cannot be the Days Inn Motel in East Point, and it cannot be the McDonald Street location. Okay. All right. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Yes. Yes, Ms. Bridgewater?
Anger awareness.
No, he's going to do a DVIP.
Is that 26 weeks?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next position I have is a Philip Thorpe.
Yes, you're on a position 15, you go in the third row. First row.
All right, this is Philip Thorpe accused of battery, family violence, and we have a warrant for that charge. And the state has added 2 additional counts of simple battery, family violence. That's a total of 3 misdemeanor charges against Mr. Thorpe in case 24 CR 7521E from January 31st, 2024. Mr. Thorpe, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
No.
Okay. Oh, that's right. It's first arrest. Sorry about that. Thank you. Miss Allen?
Your Honor, this is an incident from January the 31st. Police went to 21 Larkin Place, Southwest, Unit 102, and they spoke to the victim, Morgan Clifton. She was seen to have scratches, bloody scratches on the right side of her neck, as well as under her chin. The jacket she was wearing had buttons ripped off of it. She reported being assaulted by the defendant. She was described on scene as visibly upset and obviously injured. She reported that the defendant was intoxicated and she'd been upset about the way he acts and his drinking, becoming intoxicated. She was trying to get away from him and he grabbed her by her hair and threw her down. He then shoved her multiple times around the location before striking her as well. He then fled the location. Police investigators from the domestic violence unit followed up with her. She provided the photographs of her injuries as well as text messages that the defendant in front of you sent to her mom apologizing for the incident. I believe she applied for a TPO in February, but it was unserved, Your Honor. We have tried to get in touch with Mrs. Clifton today, but have been unsuccessful at this point. We're asking for a $2,000 surety bond, Your Honor. No contact with Mrs. Clifton to stay away from wherever she may currently live. Since this is from January, I'm not sure what the address is, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Okay. Morgan Clifton, if you're on Zoom, please unmute and start your video. I have an iPhone, so I have no idea who that is. All right. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, he is a North Springs High School graduate. Been in Georgia all his adult life. And North Springs is that high school is the one up by the North Annex Magistrate Court in Sandy Springs area. Like we said, or like it was said, he has no prior arrest. He's worked for the last 3 months as a delivery driver for Amazon. Before that, he worked for 4 years at Chipotle in the restaurant industry, Your Honor. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond, even if it entailed appropriate classes. Thank you.
On count 1, battery, that's going to be $1,500. On count 2 and 3 is going to be $500 each. That's going to be a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial services level 1. You are to have no further contact with Morgan Clifton. You have to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, including social media. You have to stay 200 yards away from 21 Larkin Place in Southwest Atlanta, the entire complex. Within 30 days of being released, you have to make sure that we have a current mailing address for you that does not involve Larkin Place. You have to also enroll in a domestic violence intervention program and show proof of attendance and enrollment to your pretrial officer by your second visit. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no firearms and weapons. Next court date will be sent to your current address. Thank you.
Wait a second.
Next, we have position number 17 and 18.
Okay. Cameron Williams. Mr. Williams has 2 separate cases for theft by shoplifting as follows. 24 CR 7527H from February 14, 2024, involving a Kroger in Sandy Spring. The second case is 24 CR 7531H, also theft by shoplifting, involving a Target in Sandy Spring from July 10th, 2024. Mr. Williams, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest,
Okay.
2017 shoplifting PTR, wanted out of DeKalb County.
And do you know what's the charge in the cab?
I think it's assault. Hold on.
It's a simple assault.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He's got a DeKalb County hold. Okay, thank you. Ms. Allen, anything else to add?
Your Honor, just that the surveillance footage from both of these incidences, the car that the defendant left the locations in, both in February and July, were what were used to identify him. In February, he had been captured on surveillance taking household items from Kroger. He went through the self-checkout, and while in that self-checkout, he asked an employee to do a price check for him on some shrimp. While that employee was doing that, he took his unpaid items and walked out of the store with the shopping cart. Police identified him. They actually showed his mother the picture of him on surveillance when they stopped her in the car he'd left in. And she identified her son and gave police his phone number, said he was in Albany. Police spoke to him on the phone and arranged for him to come meet police, and he never did so. He said he took the items because he was embarrassed because his card was declined, so he just decided to steal them. Then in July, he was at Target with another person, co-defendant, whose name is Roderick Summers, has already come through SCA. The two of them entered the Target location in Scrubs. Surveillance shows them enter that location with nothing in their possession, no items to return in their possession. They walk into the electronics section and take a TV off of the shelf. They also go take some pillows. They walk over to customer service where they try to return the TV, and they're told no, they don't have a receipt for that TV, and the customer service person gives it back to them. They then purchase the two pillows and proceed to walk out the entrance. The transaction documentation shows the TV was not paid for. Again, police identified him based on the car that was driven from the scene. They made contact with him by phone, and on two separate occasions tried to arrange for him to come and bring the television back and meet with police, and he was a no-show, and so warrants were obtained. He was arrested at the same time with both of these outstanding warrants, and the warrants identify him as being involved in both of these incidences and being identified as the same person. We'd ask for $1,000 surety bond on each of the cases, Your Honor, to stay away from Kroger. In position number 17, that is the 227 Sandy Springs Place, and in position number 18, to stay away from Target at 5600 Roswell Road. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And for position 18, we'd request no contact with co-defendant Roderick Summers. I believe he's on the Zoom.
He is. And he's got a signature bond through the jail and a date with Judge Edie. Mr. Summers, did you want to contribute? I highly recommend you do not, but you're here.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah,
Who represented Mr. Summers?
good point. Let me see. His case number is 20, just for your record, Mr. McLean. Roderick Summers' case number is 24 CR 005-016Y. Let me see, parties. Summers. I don't have any attorney listed for him. I don't know whether he was represented by the PD's office. He is on Zoom, but I do not know. And I don't have a conflict counsel representing him, and he was the first one to go through the jail. So I do
want to avoid a conflict if possible, so if we might take a minute. Do we have somebody this week have Mr. Cook on while I try to check on that? Nope.
The date of SCA was July the 23rd.
He was booked in and he was seen for first appearance on July 23rd, received a signature bond through the jail, and has a court date with Judge Edie on November 19th at 10 a.m. in courtroom 3B. So hopefully he's taking down these notes while he's on Zoom. But in the meantime,
chances are somebody by office represented him. the
I think
statistics.
by abundance of caution, Mr. McLean, I don't think you should be representing him.
I agree.
All right. Mr. Cameron Williams, since you are a co-defendant with Roderick Summers from the July 10th, 2024 incident at the Target store at 5600 Roswell Road, Sandy Springs, the Public Defender's Office cannot represent you since they're already representing your co-defendant, Roderick Summers. So out of an abundance of caution, conflict counsel will have to be appointed to represent you. And Miss Bridgewater or Mr. Jordan, Miss Champion, will need to reach out to Miss Maureen McLeod with Mr. Williams' case so that he can be represented by conflict. Of course, Mr. Williams, if you do not want the services of a conflict defense counsel, you are free to retain your own attorney to represent you. But currently, given the fact that you've been arrested twice now, and given the facts pattern that have been set forth in the warrants, your bond is going to be set forth as follows. On position 17, theft by shoplifting at a Kroger, that's going to be $1,000 surety bond. And you are to stay away from the Kroger store at 227 Sandy Springs Place in Sandy Springs, Georgia. And if you make bond for that case, you can only be released to the DeKalb County hold. You cannot be released on your own. With regards to position 18, theft by shoplifting, the bond is going to be set at $3,000, and that's going to be a surety bond. You are to stay away from the Target store at 5600 Roswell Road in Sandy Spring, and you are not to return to that location at all. You are also, from this point onwards, in both cases, to have no contact and stay away from co-defendant Roderick Summers. You're not to communicate with him in any way, form, or manner. FYI, all calls from the jail are monitored. So if you attempt to contact Mr. Summers through the phone or through any other means and it's discovered, you could jeopardize your bond. In both matters, you are only to be released to the DeKalb County hold.
And Your Honor, Miss McLeod is on the line with me on the desk phone. She is available if we would like to get involved even in the next 15 minutes.
I'm sorry, I don't have 15 minutes. She will be able to address him on November 19th.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, Mr. Williams?
Okay, so these two charges for the shoplifting was a year ago.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Williams. First of all, let me just apprise you of the fact that the police officers who signed the warrants in your cases gave very detailed information about the alleged conversations they've had with you. And from my reading of those conversations, you sadly did not exercise your right to remain silent and made statements that are not helpful to your cases. Okay? So right now, I already appointed Miss Maureen McLeod to represent you, and she will be your attorney. Do not make any more statements about these two open cases. Do not give me a reason to increase your bond. Do you understand? Okay. I highly recommend that you learn to exercise your right to remain silent and only speak with your attorney. As I was saying, your total bond is going to be $4,000 surety with a release to DeKalb County hold only, and the cases are reset to November 19th. Thank you. All right. Ms. Chan, you can remove Roderick from the Zoom, and you can remove iPhone from the Zoom. I have no idea who iPhone is.
Your Honor, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Position 17 and 18, they both have a $1,000 surety bond.
No, position 17 has $1,000 surety. Position 18 has a $3,000.
Okay, that is, I was looking at it. That's what I meant. Thank you.
Okay. All right. To go over the calendar, position number 1 is a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Position 2, Brown, is a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Position 3 is a $2,000 surety bond, reset date November 19th. Position 4 is a $1,500 surety bond, reset November 14th at 11 a.m. That's for Lacey Etheridge. Position 5, Hammonds, is a $500 cash bond only. Reset date is November 19th. And he's got a bench warrant, so he's not allowed to be released, pending Judge McBurney's order. Position 6, this is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2 with DVIP and random screens. Position 7 is a $1,250 surety bond, reset to November 19th, along with his 2022 case. Position 8 is a $1,000 surety, reset date November 19th. Position 9, Jones, is a $4,000 surety bond. Oh no, hang on. Let me.
3,500.
It's the 3,500 signature bond through pretrial services level 2. Position 10, Kellum, is a $1,500 surety bond, reset date November 19th. Position 11, Matthews, is a $1,500 surety bond, reset November 19th. Position 12, Murphy, is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Position 13, Paul, is a $2,000 surety bond, reset date November 19th. Position 14, Sylvester, is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2 with random screens. Position 15 is a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1 with a DBIP. Position 16, Walker, is a $1,500 surety bond, reset date November 14th at 11 a.m. Position 17 is a $1,000 surety. Position 18 is a $3,000 surety, reset date November 19th. And 17 and 18 would need conflict counsel. All right, folks, any changes to be made?
Oh, could you repeat number 2? I grabbed my pen too late.
No problem. That's Trenton Brown, and that's a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1.
Thank you.
And he can only return to Publix if he's still employed there.
I recall that, yes.
Okay. All right. If there are no further questions, that concludes our C calendar, and we'll see everyone. I'll see everyone on Friday.